To go up so we can get started. It's been like a semester long since I last presented. How are you guys doing on this Thursday afternoon? Is it good? Good? Okay, so some of you guys, let me introduce myself. I'm Erica. I'm the president of the Latino Business Student Association. This is my last semester as president. I got an internship, so that's why I have been a bit absent. But luckily, my vice president has been taking over, so I hope she's been doing a pretty good job, right? Right? No?
Why are you looking at me?
Any affirmations? So last week we had our Dress for Success fashion show. I saw a couple of you guys out there. It was a great opportunity to be able to continue to network with our faculty. We had 7 outstanding students who decided to walk the runway. So that was a bit of a risk thing to, being up there, walking the runway, giving your 45-second elevator pitch and being judged by co-faculty. That's not always easy. But they did it, and they did an awesome job. Lastly, we also have a community service opportunity every semester. CSUSM has the Cesar Chavez Day of Service. So I believe you get a free shirt as well as free lunch. It's a great opportunity to be able to be with your other peers and to honor our very own Cesar Chavez. As a reminder, membership dues are $25, and that does include a shirt. So if you haven't paid today, please let me know. We can figure out something for the future. Also, Ambassador Program application is now open, so the deadline will be next Thursday. So being an ambassador is a great way to learn more about our duties, and then from there on, you probably take a leadership role. I was actually one of the first ambassadors for LBSA, especially since LBSA started in 2016. So Eduardo and I were actually one of the first ambassadors. From there on, we went on to take on an actual role within the board. I took on the presidency, and he took on the information tech. So it has been really helpful within our own careers because we got that leadership experience, which has really helped us out, especially when it comes to applying for internships or to jobs. They see that you have outside involvement with campus. Now we also have the JCPenney suit-up event. So this suit-up event is hosted by JCPenney. They provide us with 40% off any career dress apparel. You're also allowed to take your family members, and they will also be getting 40% off when they use your student discount code at checkout. All you need to do is have your student ID. Don't worry, the Career Center always has handshake there, so you're fine. Our next meeting will be next Thursday. We have Luis Alvarado. He will be talking about elements to have a successful career and fulfilling life. Now, on to today's guest speaker. We have Brad. He's the Director of Business Development at Relation Edge. So, let's welcome him.
Thank you guys. It's a really old picture, and it is not like a fur coat I have on. It's my kid's hair. Most of my pictures everyone makes fun of at work usually involve me cutting out my kids because I don't really take pictures of myself. So, again, Brad Hattendorf. I work as the Director of Business Development at Relation Edge, and really just kind of want to speak to you kind of about experience, how I got here, and really just have a candid conversation. So I don't have any slides for you guys to stare at. I'm going to date myself and age myself a little bit. I've been in San Diego about 20 plus years. My wife went here back before you guys were the Panthers or Cougars. Or what do you guys have, Panthers or Cougars? Cougars. It was Tukwat is what their actual mascot name was back then. And it has changed. The campus has grown exponentially now. So congratulations to everyone here. Just by a show of hands, you have a midterm today, right? So I feel bad that this is your prep for that. Anyone else have a midterm today?
Oh, tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Okay. Everyone else doing well? Semester's going well? Okay, great. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself, kind of background, and then I just really want to open it up, kind of understand what you guys need or want from this. So I grew up in Virginia. My dad was a salesman. He was a middle person in retail sales. So most of the stores that he sells to don't exist today because they're big box retailers, as we know, like Target, Walmart, etc. But really what he was the middle person in retail sales. So let's say that the back row there owned a Hallmark in San Marcos. You wanted to place what you wanted in your Hallmark. you would place orders through him. So he doesn't make or manufacture anything, he just represents 40 lines, calendars, gift cards, etc. So growing up as a kid, what did that mean to me? It meant I was always in the car with him, right? And we were continually stocking what is now known affectionately as end caps, right, of greeting cards, right? So you go to Target now and strategically placed in front of the checkout aisle or at the end of an aisle is what they call an end cap. And that is there based on Frito-Lay paying to get exposure there, or Coca-Cola wanting to get exposure there. But back 30, 40 years ago, sadly, I'm going to age myself when I say that, right? Those end caps were greeting cards, right? So my dad and I would stock greeting cards, and I was always taken aback by every time we went someplace, he always knew everyone by name, and he always had like a special treat for me afterwards, right? Like, so we were going to one department store on the other side of town, we might go for milkshakes afterwards. And then a week later when we would go someplace else, it would always be like, oh, these guys have the best French fries. And the reason I tell you that is fast forward to 20 years down the road, almost every single one of my accounts that I call on or contacts that I know of, there is some sort of baseline of food or experience that I have with them, right? So if I go visit someone, I might know that they like a special drink, I might know they like a special candy. The reason that's really important is nowadays in sales, it's not really your typical kind of used car salesman approach, right? It's about relationship building, right? So most of the people that we do business with at Relation Edge are long-term customers, and we continue to understand kind of who they are, what they're looking for, putting them at the forefront of what we're trying to sell them ultimately, and knowing them as a person. So I went to school at Virginia Tech back east and got an English degree. And really all that geared me to was either to teach, or as I candidly like to tell everyone, sorry if anyone was an English major, to flip burgers, right? So that's the reality of it, right? Like it's either you're gonna teach, you're gonna write, or it just kind of sets the table. The reason I chose to be an English major, coming from a father or a son of a salesman, I didn't think I wanted to be in sales. I didn't think I was geared for sales. I didn't really think that that's what I wanted to do, right? And what I really enjoyed about being an English major, candidly, is I didn't have any exams really to take. Effectively, if I could argue my way in a paper to something, I was right. There was no right or wrong. It was just how well I could position my argument, if you will, right? So graduated from Virginia Tech, went and kind of into the telecommunications space for about 6 months back in DC, and then got a job opportunity to come out west. Haven't left since. For those of you, how many of you are born and raised here? Right? I would do all that I could to keep that, right? Don't leave here, right? There are plenty of opportunities. Go see the world. Make sure, but this is a phenomenal place to call home. There are so many opportunities here, so many companies. So do what you can to stay here. Just trust me. I've been around the world. I've been around the country. This is a phenomenal place to call home. I don't know that I would ever change that if I hopefully my kids feel the same way, right? I have kids, a 7.5-year-old and a 4.5-year-old, right? Who knows if they're going to be in that same boat, but I would do all you could to stay here. So I ended up coming out west, and as an English major, what I found myself being able to do really well was just position myself, right? Position who I was, what I wanted to do by writing these amazing cover letters, where my resume, there really wasn't much behind it aside from a couple jobs where I was selling shoes in high school at the Foot Action, which I don't even know if they're still in existence. I think Foot Locker's probably put them out. But ended up getting a job at a company that was called Fans Only at the time. And what it was I was excited. I grew up as a sports fan. I see a Cowboys fan in the room, so I grew up as a Redskins fan, so hopefully we can still talk after this, right? But the reality is I grew up loving sports. When you grow up outside of San Diego, we don't have the wonderful weather that we have. So when winter months come along, you're usually huddled into the house watching some sort of sports, whether it's football, basketball, etc., or maybe just my dad was a sports junkie and I grew up as a sports junkie. So I took a job at Fans Only. And I was excited because I thought I was going to be able to write, right? I thought I was going to be a writer we put up the official athletic websites of 200 plus colleges and universities, right? So I believe, since I've already butchered the mascot once, CSUCougars.com or CSUSM Cougars.com. That is your official athletic website. That's what Fans Only did at the time. But instead of actually writing, all I was really doing was writing a headline and a teaser and a photo caption and trying to get people to come to a website to read the article. The article was provided by AP, somebody else who's well established, got to write articles. There was no real opportunity for me to write op-ed, if you will, right? But long story short, it was a really good experience. It taught me a lot of stuff. I didn't know anything about HTML code. I learned how websites were kind of built, and I learned some coding behind it. But after about 1.5 years, 2 years of kind of growing up in the ranks there, I started to figure out what do I want to do here? How do we make money, right? I didn't really understand how the lights were on in the building, how I was getting paid, considering all I was doing was taking someone else's work and trying to tease it with a fancy headline or a fancy teaser. And it turns out that most of our incremental revenue, if you will, came in from ad revenue, right? So the job of my job to write a scintillating headline to get someone to click on it was so that Verizon could have an ad banner at the top. Way back in the day, it was a 468 by 60. You guys are used to 728 by 90s or 970 by 90 leaderboards. Let's do a little, never go live. When you're speaking, never go live. I'm gonna go live, okay? And bore you guys down the wormhole of college sports, okay? This is called, what they call in the digital advertising world, a leaderboard. This is 970 by 90. That's 970 pixels wide by 90 pixels tall. And this is called wallpaper. And this is sold ad nauseum, right? 9 times out of 10, these ads here are for a reason, right? These ads are there based upon websites you've gone to, based upon stores you've gone to, if you have one of these, which everyone does. Your little friend in your pocket, right? Location services are turned on and the internet tracks you, right? The internet knows where you're going and it cookies your phone. And it can connect when you get to your house, back to your Wi-Fi network, and then subtly provide you with an ad. So sometimes I like to do this. Again, don't ever go live. And if I'm boring you guys, or this is not what you guys want to hear, please throw something at me. I am open to suggestions. See this little thing here? This is called an ad choices network, right? So that means that Geico, for whatever reason, on this browser here, decided to bid on this instance of the internet based upon whoever was searching on this computer previously, more than likely, or whoever logged in. Sorry, maybe you're shopping for car insurance, maybe you got a speeding ticket on the way here. You did not, but that's it, right? So that's how we bid, yes.
So here's a fun question for you. So you ever heard of something called the Better Ads, so Coalitions for Better Ads? Yes, because that's kind of part of it, wouldn't you agree?
What's that? Say it again?
What you described a little bit earlier, the ad choice is part of Better Ads also.
Correct, right. So ad choices is probably the largest aggregator or ad network out there, right? And most instances of ads being placed, you will see this blue triangle, right? And it means that someone, for some reason, some advertiser is bidding on your instance or your browser session based on patterns of behavior that you've exhibited, right? So either websites you've gone to, searches you've made either on Google or searches you've made on actually websites themselves, right? So these search engines, when they return results, store all that data, and they store it for about 30 days. They can't store it for longer, or the institute you're talking about gives them a little fine and they stop doing it, right?
Pretty much.
Okay, so where was I? Down that wormhole. Found out that this is how we were making money. This is probably going to be boring to you guys, so I'm going to get off of Yahoo and go back here and take this awful picture off the screen. Kidding, let's make this front and center. My wife's going to kill me that was up all day. Okay, so we put up the official athletic websites of 200 colleges and universities, and after a little while, I realized how we were making money, both on ad revenue, and uniquely at the time, this is well before, if any of you are sports fans, the Big Ten Network, Pac-12 Network, the ACC Network, right, SEC Network, all those things didn't exist. And the internet is where most people got college sports, they consumed most of their college sports. So we would live stream audio and video from college campuses. Now, most of you guys born and raised here, maybe Aztec fans, maybe not Aztec fans, right? So I'm trying to think of a local analogy. Ted Leitner is the voice of the San Diego State Aztecs. We would take that broadcast, put it on the internet, and sell advertising against it to make money, right? And we would also sell that audio in a subscription model. Back in the day, so like Pandora as an example, which was playing earlier, not her playlist, whoever asked that, it's not her playlist, it's just a random thing. You pay what, $4 a month and you get no ads, right? So you pay $4 a month and you get all the college sports you'd want to consume. So I started marketing that via email, selling ads against it, and again, as I grew my network and as I grew my kind of connections, I decided that really ultimately what I wanted to be in was kind of sales and business development. So I moved over to that side and started trying to renew colleges, bring on new colleges, and as the business kind of slowly evolved, I started to make my way into just pure business development for what was then CBS Interactive. So after 14 years in that instance, right, started as fans only, small company, got bought by what was then CSTV, College Sports Television. College Sports Television then got consumed by CBS. CBS then rebranded us as CBS Interactive. So 14 years at a large corporation, great. Only problem was probably the last 5 years, traveling 2 to 3 months out of every month. 2 to 3 weeks out of every month, I was on the road, in and out of airports, in Atlanta, in Charlotte, in Tallahassee, Florida, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Been to way too many college sporting events. I could bore you to death with that. The reality was my wife was an aspiring lawyer, and she was in law school, so she didn't miss me. I didn't miss her being buried in a book because I was always traveling. But as that career went on, we started to have kids, and I didn't really want to be in Tallahassee, Florida, and have my wife tell me that my kid just said dad for the first time, or just hit his first home run over the weekend. So I got presented with a job opportunity to go work for a small radio company called Lincoln Financial Media. So 14 years, right? First day, I walk in, first day of not being tethered to this. Trust me, you guys are tethered to this, probably more for Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, whatever the cool kids are doing these days. I'm trying my best to stay up, right? I'm tethered to this because I've got clients emailing me on a daily basis, right? First time in 14 years, I don't have to check my inbox when I wake up at 5:30. Yes, sadly, I wake up at 5:30. Don't do it, sleep in. It's well worth it. I walk in and my boss goes, I hope, so I'm assuming you heard the news. At that point, I'm like, did something really bad happen in San Diego? Because again, not checking my email, not knowing anything, my company got acquired the previous night, right? So I left 14 years of stability to come to a brand new company that just got acquired. And apparently my boss who hired me no longer has a job. So he says, I need you to go down the hall and fill out paperwork. So if you don't fill out paperwork, you're a corporate employee, and when we have this call in 45 minutes, you no longer will be employed here. So I said, good talking to you. I'm gonna go down the hall, fill out the paperwork so I can have a job, right? Ended up turning out fine. Entercom was the company that bought us, Entercom Communications, who recently bought CBS Radio, which I'll get back to that in a second. But a cluster of radio stations. Most of you all, given the Pandora piece, probably don't listen to a lot of radio, safe in assuming? Used to. Anyways, the interesting part of that job was I was brought on to be the digital sales manager for a cluster of radio reps. So anyone who listens to radio, in between 15 minutes of music, there's about a 2-minute stop set of commercials, right? And then it goes back to music. People who sell those commercials know nothing about digital, right? And the digital that we were trying to teach them was SEO, SEM. So I'm gonna pause there. You guys know what that is? SEO?
SEO, yes.
You're the IT guy. I might have to take you out from this line of questioning as I feel like you're going to be you're going to know all this.
Pretty much a no.
Anyone else know what SEO or SEM is? Okay. So again, don't ever go live, right? You in the back row shook your head no. What is one thing that you tried to purchase recently?
The search engine optimization.
Anything recently? Your glasses, okay? You didn't go to Warby Parker, did you? Okay. You did?
Yeah, but then I didn't.
Okay. Eyeglasses near me. No one searches like that. Again, if you hit allow here, it's going to allow this computer to know that you're in San Marcos, okay? And then it's going to find. Just to be difficult, I'm going to say this. And actually, eyeglass. How about, what color eyeglasses? You know, this brown? They're purple. Purple eyeglasses. Not only am I old, I can't type and I can't see. Okay. So this right here, let's try to do this so you guys don't have to squint. Can we do this? Okay. These are paid ads, right? So this, see how it says sponsored? Mm-hmm. This is what they call SEM, or pay-per-click. So Lens Crafters, Glasses USA, NW Specs, Zenni Optical, Amazon have all paid for the word purple eyeglasses to appear here. This piece right here, where you don't see an ad, is called SEO, search engine optimization. Way back in the day, right shortly after I started, it used to be a matter of you stuffing what they call keywords or metadata, right?
Yes.
So, Charlotte Purple Women Acetate Eyeglasses, sold by iBuyDirect. If I was a competitor,
Let me ask you this one. If for first one, what else do you see on there?
Say it again.
What else type of marketing you see on that? For like the rating, what else you see?
What else do I see aside from that?
Yes.
I don't know.
It's called Shima. It's product information. It's called schema, something like that.
Okay.
So like in other words, they're using product information with pricing and reviews and the stars to get more.
And this piece up top here, right?
That's something like that. For the fourth one, yes. For the other ones, not so much.
Okay. Okay. See, I'm learning something new. So again, like my job in sales is to kind of sell it, but I have a team behind me who knows the product very well, right? But way back in the day, you used to stuff keywords so that you could beat your competitor to that. Nowadays, Google, Yahoo, Bing won't allow that, right? And it is based upon content that you're producing and how relevant your website is to this actual particular product. Don't want to bore you to death and talk about all the digital products, but sold SEO, so pay-per-click, so those banners that we talked about, social media advertising, those of you on Facebook, Instagram, any ad that you see in your newsfeed, someone's paying to get there, right? And any store or company that you follow, any post that they make without a budget behind it, Facebook and Instagram won't allow it to get in front of you, okay? So that's what I sold. Imagine trying to teach the proverbial old dog a new trick, or basically teach dinosaurs what digital was. And after about 4 years, I was going crazy there. I got presented with a great opportunity to come to a new challenge at Relation Edge, who is ultimately owned by this company, which, again, probably sick of me saying don't ever go live. This is them. We actually just went through a corporate rebrand yesterday. I don't know if we have the historical logo, but this R is brand new. This rack space is brand new. It used to be a stack of servers. Actually, let's see if we can do this. Oh, there it is. This was our logo up until yesterday. What the hell does that mean? Excuse my mouth, sorry. No one knows, right? It's antiquated, right? Rackspace was built as a server-based company, right? Stacks of servers to host your business. Here we are in 2019, everything is in the clouds, right? So servers, although they have to baseline what is stored in the clouds, we have to adjust our business, right? So it's an exciting day to work for this company. Rackspace owns what is Relation Edge. Relation Edge is in 13 cities, and really it's kind of threefold. It is tech stack, if you will, so software implementations. You buy Salesforce, you buy a software called Conga, you buy Oracle, you buy Adobe. You might buy it as a company, you don't know how it works. Our tech guys know how it works, and we train the team to work. How it works and implement kind of a managed service agreement. The second fold is Marketing Cloud. Marketing Cloud is typically, or a marketing technology, or a MarTech, depending upon where you are. My IT friend in the front, what's your name?
Eduardo.
Eduardo probably knows everything that I'm talking about. The rest of you guys, maybe not so much, maybe half yes, half no. But really is designed to help kind of what they call marketing automation, right? So we talked a little bit about Warby Parker. If you, at any point when you were looking for your eyeglasses at Warby Parker, entered your email address, you entered into what they call a drip campaign or a journey builder, right? And as in, you came to the website, you didn't purchase, you get a first email. I'm gonna date myself again. Growing up, those were called choose your own adventure books, right? You read a chapter, you decide, hey, this is what I wanna do, and this is the next chapter I read. That's marketing automation, right? You came to my website, you did not purchase eyeglasses, I'm gonna send you an email. Anyone been to a store and put shoes, a dress, eyeglasses, sunglasses, a blazer in a cart and not purchase? 2 days later, you probably have something in your inbox, right? Or you have that as a banner, right? That is all marketing automation. That is what is sold on a daily and regular basis. So to augment all that marketing automation, Relation Edge also has a digital agency. And that digital agency comes up with strategy behind it, content behind it, and then the actual implementation of all those pieces. So that, in a very quick nutshell, or maybe a very boring nutshell, is how I got to where I'm standing here in front of you guys today. Anything you guys have questions on in terms of resources, things I can answer, things that you're like, what is he talking about? What's relevant to you? What can I help answer? What can I help address?
Well, what exactly do you do as a business development?
Great question. So, twofold. One is I'm that annoying sales guy who has to take someone who I've never met before, pick up a phone call, and have a conversation with them, and try to get them to establish a meeting. That's the first one. That's probably, quite candidly, the hardest part of the job. But it's also the funnest part of the job, because the goal for me is to not get hung up on and to set an appointment. So I'm trying to establish relationships on people that either aren't customers, that we want as customers, or that we're trying to develop as customers. So that's the first fold. And the second fold is taking existing customers that are buying the cloud software or the infrastructure of Salesforce and attach Marketing Cloud or digital agency services to them. So it's a continual kind of presentation of our services, either from scratch, who they know nothing about us, or from an established customer that didn't know we had these other two things. I responded to 3 RFPs this week, requests for proposal. So if you know a business is out for bid or you have a network of connections, so in this instance, 3 of the people in my network emailed out and said, hey, do you guys do this? Yes, we do this. And then they sent a PDF that's like a 5-page falling asleep. While you're reading all the details to it, you sync up with your tech team, and then you answer accordance, and then assuming that both your answers meet their requirements and your bid meets their budget, then you win the bid, you win the proposal, and they become a customer. Is that answer? Got it? Anyone else? What's your midterm in today, by the way?
Business analytics.
Business analytics? Okay. So give me an example of what you assume might be a question on that today.
Probably a frequency distribution table.
Okay. Frequency distribution table from analytics from the website, or analytics on the actual business itself, like in terms of sales over the base of the quarter, or
Like a data center.
okay. Okay. I was trying to think of an application there, but I might be a little over my skis.
What are the people you are looking for to bring in as customers?
Great question. It varies. I would say at the high level, you're looking at what we call an enterprise account. So that is a humongous global brand, right? To a small to medium-sized business who might just be simply looking at communicating with their customers from a marketing automation standpoint. So we partner with Tri-City Medical Center. We partner with Milikowski Tax and Law Center. They actually, I believe, are a sponsor of the business school. They were at the senior experience that I was at maybe 3 months ago. Who else? Let me think about this. We partner with this company right here. They're called Del Mar. Not the track, but these guys right here. They are an international global tracking distribution company, right? So they are centered in Chicago, Illinois. We have servers and cloud-based technology that all of their data is stored in. We host their instance of Salesforce. So they are able to track all of their customers as well as all their salespeople, right? So all of their internal sales team has to input literally every time they go out on a sales call. I went to go see Joe. This is what we said. This is the contract I put in front of him, and that's tracked. And then all of their customers are tracked in there. So they can ensure that whatever they're shipping or distributing, gets there on time. They understand, like, if a route from, say, Chicago to Montana is disrupted because of snow, they understand that that happens typically between January and March, and they try to pad their typical. So if it takes 4 days to drive a big rig from Chicago to Montana, but in the snow it takes 6, they keep track of that and they build that into their schedule accordingly. But the reality is from my seat, at least from a business development standpoint, everyone is a customer, right? That we have some sort of service for everyone. It's just a matter of It's just a matter of, do we fit into their budget and do we fit into their scope? One of the unique things that I really like about working for this company that I didn't have in the 2 media instances prior is extremely brilliant minds there, right? And we do a very unique thing in terms of, we call it process first, technology second, in terms of we understand what the customer is trying to learn, we understand what their processes are, and then that's when we pitch the technology. Meaning, instead of going in with, I'm going to use the bad analogy again, you work for Warby Parker, I know you want to sell eyeglasses, here's what you should do, right? That's the CBS or the Intercom way. The Relation Edge way that's unique about us is sitting down, having a conversation with you, understanding when you sell the most glasses, any sort of delinquencies that you may have in distribution, right? Like, so maybe there's a lens that's really popular right now that's back ordered 6 months, right? So we can help you kind of handle that communication. We understand all of your processes first, and then we implement a solution for you afterwards.
So you mentioned that sales is something like, it's more personal with the customer, so what's a good strategy for that? To get closer to them?
Yeah, so I like to just get to know everyone, right? So as an example, like I was talking about, like getting to know their family, right? So, okay, my one customer is married with 2 kids, right? So when I have a conversation with them, we start talking about baseball or softball or soccer or whatever sport of the season that our kids are in together. Or I know that they're a 2nd grader and a kindergartner, my kid's a 1st grader and a preschooler, we can relate to some capacity on that. So sales is really, it's really about relationship building. So I would say a good example of that is just getting to know who you're working with and understanding them, because it sounds cliche and cheesy, but if you befriend them, it's harder for them to sever a relationship with you than it is if you don't know them from a hole in the wall, right? So if I've got a really good relationship with you as a business partner and something goes wrong, heaven forbid, right? I can 9 times out of 10 navigate that way better than my Dallas Cowboy friend in the front, who we're not going to be friends, right? Because I'm a Redskin fan, he's a Cowboy fan. No, I'm kidding, right? But the reality is if something were to go south in a business deal, it's very easy to navigate if you've got a better relationship. You have more experience with them. They understand that it was a hiccup. Whereas if I don't have a relationship with you, if I don't know you, and I don't have that personal relationship, we have a hiccup, that's 9 times out of 10 for a reason for business to go out the door.
And then how do you keep track of those relationships? I know, like, as you get more and more.
Yeah, so amazingly now, I would say 10 years ago when I first started, sadly it was all in here or all in like a notepad, right? Nowadays, HubSpot, Marketo, Salesforce, I mean, you would be amazed at the data that I have of my contacts in there, right? Like, so I have their birthdays, I have their wife's names, I have their kids' names, I have what sports they play, the kids that is, right? Their favorite teams or their favorite sport, or not everything's about sports, I get that, right? So maybe I have a friend who I got introduced through my wife, and I know she really likes Gerber daisies. Literally in HubSpot, it says Gerber daisies, and on her birthday, every year, the company sends Gerber daisies, right? So that's 9 times out of 10 how you can do it. Again, HubSpot's free, Marketo's free, Salesforce, little pay to play. And then all else fails, Google Docs, a notepad on your phone, right? Your contact information. There's a note field in every contact app that resides, whether it's Apple or Android, what have you, put notes in there, right? So for instance, when I meet people for the first time, and I'm getting their business card, 9 times out of 10, I don't even get their business card, right? Like I get their email address or I get their cell phone number and we start texting, we exchange from there, and then when their contact data gets stored in there, I met at such and such event on such and such a night, and that's how it kind of all starts. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else?
Who were your mentors?
Good question. I would say my mentors have been probably like 3 really good bosses that I have had over the course of time. I'd say when I first started, I worked for a guy who just would literally like run through walls for you, right? Like would legitimately do anything that he could to help me grow, which is how I quickly elevated in the CBS interactive landscape. Second one is an old colleague of mine that I never worked with, and watched him kind of rise the ranks. So anything that I am having trouble with in terms of sales, in terms of cadences, in terms of relationships, always bouncing something off of him. Like, we don't work together, we haven't worked together for 6 years. We talk probably once every Friday. We both are now married, we both have kids, so we catch up on that. That would probably be it. And then the third and final one is just actually a contact of mine from the University of Alabama. So we partnered with, at CBS Interactive, we partnered with a company called Learfield, who's the rights holder for the University of Alabama. He was the general manager at the time, and he was my day-to-day contact. He moved on to corporate ranks at Learfield. I left CBS Interactive. We still connect. So it really just kind of depends. But when I first started, it was one of my first bosses who would run through a wall for me. Second one was a colleague of mine that we, again, never really worked together, but just kind of stayed in touch. And then the third one is an old kind of business partner, if you will.
Would you suggest we seek out mentors?
I definitely would say, especially in this day and age, absolutely, first off. I would definitely say in this day and age, it is so much about who you know. It sounds very cliche as opposed to what you know, right? So, meaning when you guys graduate, some of you are going to graduate in May, and some of you guys are going to graduate in 2-3 years. I don't know if we have any freshmen in here, so any freshmen? Okay. Okay, not allowed, no freshmen are not allowed, right? So sophomores, juniors, and seniors, right? So when you graduate, right, and you get out into the world and your resume hits a stack, right? The reality is the connections that you have that are going to enable you to open that door are more than likely the reason that you will get that job, as opposed to how pretty your resume is, right? Just being completely candid from my experience, that's it. So any internship that you can do, any volunteer work that you can do, any sort of mentor program that the university here puts on for you, sign up for it. It is so worth it, because again, at the end of the day, your first gig may not be the gig that you wanted, right? Like, I didn't want to write copy headlines for the rest of my life, but it got me into a door that taught me that ultimately my dad was right, and I probably should have gone into sales. I should have probably been a business major, and it probably would have eradicated about 6 years of me climbing the ranks, right? But at the same time, I would take that back for a second, because in those 6 years, I learned a lot of skill sets, right? I learned how to interact with people. I learned that mistakes happen in the business world, and the best way to cover up those mistakes is if you've got a really good relationship and you can kind of talk through them, right? Anyone else? Major League Baseball umpire, you got anything?
How do you go about building a relationship, you know, because you're making calls, trying to make sales. How does it go about asking, well, how are you married? Do you have kids? How do you
So it starts kind of probably in the infancy of how I got introduced to that client, right? So 99 times out of 100, most of my prospecting will start on LinkedIn. Okay, so LinkedIn profile is probably the easiest way for me to understand how I know that person, right? So we're prospecting a company. I see that they're moving their headquarters to San Diego. I go and try to find the business development manager, the vice president of sales, the vice president of marketing, right? And I find out that there are 2 instances maybe removed from he or she, right? I'm going to find out who knows them first, then reach out to that person who I more than likely either know or have a pretty good rapport with. And then once I get some intel on that person, that's usually my in, right? So my in is either a phone call to that person, an email to that person, or a LinkedIn message to that person using that tease. Out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, 100% accurate. Like, guy loves fishing. She loves the Padres. Everything is sports with me. I apologize, but that's what's coming to mind right now, right? So that's my in, and that's how I'll typically build the relationship. So I won't know that necessarily off the top unless I've met them, but if I haven't met them, I'll use my network of contacts to figure out kind of an in, a unique in, or a unique, if nothing else, conversation starter. And then from that conversation, it typically just comes up naturally. So long as you're not going in on that conversation with, hey, here's my 37 things on my Chinese menu to order from. Like, and what are you buying? And it's more of, how you doing today? Like, getting to know them, and it just, what problems are you having? Sales, aside from being a relationship place, is a listening piece, right? The better listener you can be, the better relationship you're gonna have. Although I'm talking a lot, and most of my coworkers will tell you I love to talk, the reality is when I'm on a sales pitch or I'm in a sales conversation, I'm quiet. I ask a lot of ask a lot of questions, and you gotta be comfortable with silence. Like, sometimes I'm gonna ask a question that they're not gonna know, and I'm gonna let them sit on it, and then when they haven't answered, I might chime in to kind of tease them or lead them to it, but the reality is you gotta be an excellent listener to be able to build that relationship, and you're not gonna instantaneously know that they're married, that they have kids, but 9 times out of 10, the contact that's gonna lead you to that person is gonna give you a little insight into them. Yep.
So, you say you traveled a lot. How do you integrate that into different cultures? Because I know Japanese people are really reserved, and you can't just go about asking questions unless you really know them. So, how would that work?
Yeah, great. I've heard that as well. I will say the one thing I'd say is most of my travel has been domestic, right? So in all my jobs in terms of travel plans, right, they've 9 times out of 10, if not 100 times out of 100, been going to nowhere near as unique as Japan, right? It's been going to college towns or to San Antonio, Texas, right? Just not. But on that one, that's probably a longer sales cycle, and that's again what you have to be a good listener for, and you've got to understand before you go, right? So you'll not the same analogy, right? But you might find out from someone like, hey, don't bring up X, Y, and Z. That you just kind of have to know that in advance, right? So there is no way to overcome that, and that again is a longer sales cycle, right? Like, so I've got a bunch of friends who sell in the telecom space, and their sales cycles are 18 months because the first 9 to 12 months is literally building that relationship that you have to build, to your point, without asking personal questions. There is a little bit of a difference in the culture from what I understand. In terms of asking business related ones, right? So long as it's not like asking anything what happens when they leave the company and it's all about the company, that might be your in. And again, it's uniquely positioning those questions so that you're waiting for their answer and then using their answers back to them in further instances of the conversation, right? So you might ask them something about how their business is structured, they're gonna answer a certain way, and so long as you use that in the continuing conversations, that's typically how it continues conversation. Great question. I wish that I was internationally traveled for business, but not there yet. How are we doing on time, by the way? 3 minutes left. You got a midterm, okay? I'm gonna follow up and make sure you get an A, all right? Anything else I can help answer? Any references you need, like things that I confused you with, bored you with? What could I do better?
There's probably a lot of questions that you can answer. Like, when it comes to your organization and like the culture of hiring, so for example, like what I hear from you is you had an English background, not necessarily a business degree, but you had the experience built up throughout the years. So when you guys are hiring, are you guys just specifically looking for people with experience, and how do you guys like train people that don't come in with experience?
Sure, great question. I'd say a couple things. One is there's always like an intern possibility, right? Which again, doesn't pay the bills, I get that, but also allows you to get that established thing. I would say Relation Edge and Rackspace are very unique in that they have a specific skill set that they 9 times out of 10 are looking for each role. And they have corporate recruiters that do a really good job of putting people in that role. In terms of onboarding process and training, phenomenal. They are, especially on Salesforce, and Salesforce is this thing called trailheads that allow you to kind of follow trails of certain certifications you're trying to get. But the company as a whole, really just, it's a unique question in the sense of, answering it from where I'm at, it's probably not the best answer for you in the sense of without a specific skill set, more than likely it's going to be complicated to get a job, at least at Relation Edge on the tech side. But on the agency side or a sales side or potentially kind of an event side, a little different. You might not, again, need that exact experience, but you definitely would need kind of the in or the intro, right? It's going to vary from company to company, but I would say short answer is if it's a tech side work, there's no way around having that experience. But if it's non-tech, it's just a matter of getting that meeting. How do you get that introduction, and how do you kind of continue to network? I don't know if that answers your question or not. Sort of, kind of.
Yeah.
Well, would we be able to take a picture with you?
Sure. Just as long as it doesn't go on TikTok.